Hello, this is Inner Insight Studios. Today, we're going on a deep dive into what's beneath the surface.
We're going to be looking at something I think everyone has failed. It's not the big dramatic moment of choice.
No, it's much quieter than that.
It's that tiny fraction of a second where a major life shift could happen, but it just doesn't.
I know exactly what you mean is that pause. You're standing in a doorway, or your hand is on the handle, ready to open it.
Or you take a breath to finally say the thing you need to say, and nothing, you pull back.
And it feels like something inside just hits the brakes. Not with a shout, but with a whisper. A little veto that says, not yet.
Not yet. That's the perfect way to put it. And, we tend to think of our minds as this single straight line moving forward. But that feeling, that veto, it tells us something else is going on.
That there's another structure at play.
Exactly. There is a dedicated functional part of the self whose entire job is to halt movement, to keep things the same, all in the name of security.
So let's unpack that. What is this internal structure? This part of us that holds the veto power?
We can call it the guardian, and you can think of it as a sort of internal security chief. Its job is to constantly run a risk assessment.
Okay, so it's scanning everything.
Constantly.
Oh,
It decides what new idea, what vulnerable feeling, or what, uncomfortable truth is allowed to enter your awareness, everything else. It gets flagged and held back.
And its prime directive is self-preservation.
Yeah.
But what I find so powerful about this idea is that it's not always wise, is it?
No, and that's the crucial distinction. Its job is to preserve the current self, even if that self is unhappy or stuck.
So familiar misery is better than uncertain change.
Because familiar feels safer. The Guardian's definition of safe is just what's worked so far, what's gotten us to this point, regardless of how painful that might have been. It fears the unknown more than anything else.
So if it's this subtle, how do we even spot it in our day-to-day lives? What are
Right.
the telltale signs?
Well, it's almost never a big meltdown. It's much quieter. It might show up as just a simple hesitation. An opportunity arises and you just freeze for a second.
Or that sudden flash of irritation, right? When someone asks a question that's a little too personal about your future.
Yes, that small, sharp defensiveness that flares up, that's the Guardian reacting to a perceived threat of exposure, or even just the quick retreat into, I'm fine.
It's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All little verbal shields.
And I've noticed one of its most brilliant disguises, especially when you need to have a really vulnerable conversation with someone. It shows up as what you could call misplaced productivity.
Oh, that is its masterpiece. Tell us a bit more about that because it's such a clever strategy.
It's the ultimate avoidance tool. Deep down, you need to go have that difficult conversation, the one that could change everything. But instead, you're suddenly overcome with this non-negotiable, urgent need to, I don't know, organize your bookshelf by color.
Or clean out the garage, something that feels incredibly important in that moment.
Exactly. You feel busy, you feel accomplished, but you're just fixing the room to avoid fixing what's inside. The Guardian essentially says, we can't deal with that emotional risk right now. We have urgent filing to do.
It replaces self-confrontation with self-management. Short pause.
Which really underlines that we can't just treat this Guardian like an enemy we need to defeat. It's doing all this for a reason.
We have to. If we look at this through a wider lens, the Guardian isn't a villain. It's more like a muhafaz, a term from some traditions for a deeply trained guard.
Trained by what?
By our own past. By old, genuinely painful experiences. It holds the memories of times we were judged or exposed or hurt. And its critical error is that it treats those past memories as current active threats.
So it's constantly fighting old wars in the present moment.
Precisely. It's reacting to a ghost. So when it stands at that doorway of change, it has a very specific checklist it's scanning for.
And what's on that list?
It's short. Risk. Exposure. Shame. Anything that might make us feel small or powerless.
And that's not just about what other people think, is it?
No, that's a key insight. Often it's about protecting us from feeling small in front of ourselves. It's terrified of that moment where we might have to admit that a core belief we have about who we are is, well, wrong.
That's a huge one. And what's fascinating is where this first shows up. It's not a thought, is it? It's physical. You feel it in your body first.
The body is always the first responder. It's so much faster than the rational mind. So the Guardian's first signal is almost always a physical cue.
Like what? What should you be noticing?
It could be anything, really. A suddenly tight jaw, a feeling of your chest contracting, making your breath shallow. Your hands might get restless.
Or that sudden urge to just get up and move, to get away from stillness.
Yes. The body is screaming danger, long before the conscious mind has even registered the choice.
So the body sounds the alarm, and then the mind scrambles to build a case for the retreat.
That's it exactly. The physical signal has already initiated the avoidance. Then the thinking mind jumps in to build a neat story to justify it.
I'm too tired today.
It's probably not the right time.
They wouldn't understand anyway.
Perfect, simple narratives. Because handling a clean story is so much easier on our system than facing the raw, messy truth of our own vulnerability.
So if the story is the cover-up, what is the Guardian's real, deep-down job? What is it truly trying to protect with all this effort?
At its core, its non-negotiable function is to keep our current narrative intact. It is the protector of our familiar identity.
And this is the paradox, right?
Yes.
It protects that identity even if it's a painful one.
It does, because familiarity feels safer than uncertainty. That is the Guardian's core belief.
That really hits home. Choosing a known suffering over an unknown possibility, why is that uncertainty so terrifying?
Because the pain, the identity of being the one who's always overlooked or always struggling, you have a map for that. You know the rules, you know the cost.
That's the new thing.
The unknown doorway feels like a void. It has no map. And to that protective, primitive part of the self, no information is the highest possible threat level. It would rather keep you in a small, painful room that it knows than let you step into a vast, unknown landscape that could be wonderful. Reflective silence.
Okay, so that changes everything. The goal can't be to fight it or to silence it. That's just starting a war with yourself.
You'd never win. The goal is to shift your approach entirely, to adopt what we could call a soft posture.
A soft posture. What does that mean in practice?
It means meeting the Guardian without force, without judgment. You stand at the threshold of whatever change you want to make and you listen. You're not trying to kick the door down anymore.
You're just acknowledging the guard standing there.
You're acknowledging the guard, and instead of meeting its resistance with more force, you meet it with curiosity, with a sincere question.
And it can't be an aggressive question like, why are you blocking me?
No, it has to be genuine. It has to come from a place of respect for its protective role. You ask it quietly, what do you believe you are preventing right now?
And what's the second part of that?
The more important part. What precious part of my identity do you believe you are fighting to preserve?
And the answer might be something like, I'm preserving the idea that I'm strong and don't need help.
Or, I'm preserving the identity of being the one who always has it together. When you hear the answer, you realize that a true reset doesn't start with some grand, forceful decision.
It starts much more quietly.
It starts with the soft realization that the door isn't locked by fate. It's locked by an internal agreement, a contract you signed with yourself a long time ago, maybe as a child, that said, to be safe, I must never be vulnerable in this way again.
And we forget we even signed it.
We forget completely, but the Guardian never does. Its job is to enforce the terms of that old contract. Real change is just about looking at that contract again and saying, the threat has passed, this agreement is no longer needed.
And that's the real threshold, that moment of realization.
It is. Which brings us to this final image. Every threshold of change, every real doorway, has two faces, like the ancient figure Janus at the gate.
Looking both ways at once.
Exactly. One face looks back to the past, to the safety, the familiarity, the pain we survived. The other looks forward to the unknown, to the possibility of growth.
So the same doorway is both an escape and an entrance.
It can be a retreat from something or an entry to something. It all depends on which direction you're facing.
Which really frames the final question for anyone listening. We all have fear. That's just part of being human. That isn't the problem. The real question is, have we silently allowed that fear to be the one who holds the key?
When in fact, the key was always meant to be in your hand. So the path forward, the real beginning of a reset, starts with something very simple. Find a quiet moment. Picture that door. And instead of arguing with it, just finally notice the part of you standing guard.
And give it the attention it's been asking for all along. This has been an incredible deep dive. Thank you so much for walking us through this.
It was my pleasure, truly.
If this deep dive resonated, please like the video, subscribe for more, and leave a comment.
We'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Just your city and country.
And what's one idea that stayed with you?
With love and warmth, take care.